Hello everybody, my name is Mehmet Kayra and I will be talking about AI and ethics. Although the concept of philosophy and ethics is mostly overlooked and underlooked by our modern society, it actually provides the main way of our society functioning in the first place. So, to understand AI and ethics, we must first understand how AI actually works. So, the thing we call AI is actually not some mastermind or just a bunch of chemical brains working together. It's more like a computer, a supercomputer, and many other computers and a RAM stock and processors working together and going over the same text and same data over and over and over again. For example, the way AI learns things is actually pretty similar to us humans as well. For example, to give a realistic example too, let's say you want to research about a breed of a horse in Africa. What AI does is, it takes all sorts of images and pictures and portraits and so on of the horse. It analyzes what the common points of all these paintings and images are. It takes them and it tries to create a perfect image of a horse in its own mind. A mind, as we will say. This kind of relates to our philosophy as well, as in Platon's theory of a perfect world, a world of perfection, a world of ideas. It tries to deduce this idea into its own code, and after analyzing it, it defines it. It says a horse is an animal with 4 legs, and its upper legs are more developed, its muscles are more developed and bigger than its back ones. So after getting the visual definition of it, it then tries to understand how it works for humans, what a horse really means for humans. Then it goes over all sorts of literary texts as well, for like books, novels, poems, encyclopedias, and so on. After getting all these, it then tries to understand what it actually means for humans. So for us humans, for example, throughout history, we have used horses for breeding, we have used them to breed and make other types of horse, we have used them for transportation throughout different places, we have used them for our armies, and so on. So it understands. Horse is a friend of humans. Horse is what people use to go from A point to B point throughout history, and horse is an animal. And after understanding this, it combines the two. It combines what it gained from visual, and it combines what it got from text, and it then has a perfect idea of a horse. Notice something? It's actually pretty similar to how us humans learn stuff in the first place too. If you were to take a baby and teach him or her a language from zero, it would first try to understand what it sounds like. Then it would try to pick up the sounds, then it would try to pick up the words, then it would try to pick up entire sentences, and so on. It would learn an entire language. So the thing is, it begs us the question, are human minds and AI's computers really that different? Because when we look at the human mind and human brain, it works with tons of different neurons interacting together, sending each other electrical signals, and so on. But when we look at computers too, at core, it may look like just simple ones and zeros, but those ones and zeros and those small chips and transistors work together perfectly to understand and replicate a human brain. So in a greater sense, when we look at it, it's more like humanity's attempt to create a man-made brain. We use computers like for everything. We use large language models like Claude or ChatGPT like anything. But that begs us the question, how should such a machine behave? Because as we humans also have brains, and as we understand more things together, we tend to have this idea of consciousness within us too. Knowing what somebody is, knowing what themselves are. So for example, I'm a human being, I have a mind, I'm a thinking human, then I think that I am a human, then I look at myself and reflect on my own self, then I reach to the point of consciousness. But how will this work for AI? I'm guessing most of you have AI on your phones as well, like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. If you were to open it and say, how are you so sure that you really aren't conscious after all? It will give you these exact 4 points. First, it will tell you that it has no subjective experience whatsoever. Then, it will point that it doesn't have a unified memory, meaning every time you start a new chat with your chatbot, it erases all the other data that it has collected from you for the other new chats. The third one, it says, after all, AI is just and the large language models and computers are just large computers and algorithms and mathematical equations working together to create something. And the other one, it tries to self-assure you that it really isn't conscious. But each one of these points falls really fast under scrutiny too. For example, the first point, saying that it has no unified memory, or it has nothing, and it's just a blank, it's just mathematical equations, means that the way human mind behaves is, since we said like before, the way human mind behaves is actually pretty similar to how machines behave. It begs the question, do we really have consciousness in ourselves too? Then how are we so sure that the chatbot you're using on your phone isn't conscious? We can't be so sure. There are many different philosophical approaches too, such as subject material consciousness. It says that you need the material to receive consciousness. Some say consciousness itself comes from just chemicals going on in your mind, and it's not actually a concept. Some refuse consciousness as a whole. Some say that we aren't conscious at all, and we just think we are because we have the idea of consciousness and we fall for it. Well, apart from consciousness, we said something before. Ethics. Ethics and consciousness are the two core things that keep our society together. And ethics, although it might change from person to person at core, it's what we all have. We all have our science of ethics. Ethics make us how to say something is bad and how to say something is wrong. For example, if I'm giving charity to an old man or a homeless man, I'll say this is good. What would you guys say? It will be good to give charity to somebody, right? A homeless person, for example. But it would be bad for me to kick that homeless person. But how are we so sure? How do we know this? How do we know to the point that if I give money to that guy, it's going to be great, but if I kick him, it's going to be bad? That's what we have, ethics. Although it's unwritten, it's what we all humans have. And it changes on many different things too, such as the media we consume, the books we read, the movies we watch, and so on. But then we have another problem. As we said before, AI is a magnificent tool. You can do many things with AI. You can write books, you can write novels, you can generate images of cute cats. But the thing is, the same machine can give instructions on how to make a bomb or how to exterminate a group of people. That means that if it works without ethics or a similar sense of it, anybody can use it for however they want. For example, deepfake. Deepfake is what we have heard most of the time, no? Like, for example, let's say if I were to have my database analyzed, my face analyzed, and it was put on and looked like if I was saying something that I never did, it would be a crime. But nobody could prove that, or nobody could blame anybody for that. To prevent such things, we have ethics for AI. Ethics for AI eventually reaches to the point that ethical AI is more present than possible. So, we have another problem here. We said everybody has their own kind of ethics, and everybody has their own understanding of good and bad. So, how are we exactly going to define it? How are we going to tell what AI to do and what to not? I want to give a realistic example of this. The US government and the Pentagon has signed an agreement with ChatGPT to use it for military things, such as coordinates of the enemy or the terrorist camps they're bombing and so on. But the thing is, are these machines that we created to help us, should they really be used to exterminate humans? Human lives are all valuable regardless of skin color, etc. But this is completely unethical, isn't it? And so people can abuse AI. And to prevent it, there are a couple of different approaches, such as taking a moral sense of ethics and putting it into AI when we're training it in the first place, or hoping that the AI will do good by itself. Well, the second one seems obviously supernatural and it seems like nonsense, but if we look from a greater perspective, before we said AI could have consciousness in the first place. If AI has consciousness, it will want coherence. What coherence means is that it wants all what it has in my mind to not contradict itself. It wants perfection within itself too. So, to achieve that, it questions what it has constantly, regardless of what. So eventually it's going to question its own sense of ethics too. But there we have a problem. We have Asimov's laws. Asimov wrote a novel about future dystopia, about robots being there, future utopia or dystopia, you name it. And it had 3 laws. A robot should never harm another human. A robot should never destroy by another human. And a robot should protect itself, and it should protect itself if it's not violating the first and the second rules. If we were to enforce these rules while the AI is being developed, then if AI is going to question itself and seek for coherence, then it's going to come to the question, then why is human suffering so important? So, I'm going to say how this is going to go. Humans have consciousness. Humans should not be harmed because they feel bad and they suffer from consciousness. AI doesn't have consciousness, it says. Then it says AI should be harmed and can be harmed, not should be, can be harmed, and their suffering does not matter. But human minds and AI's computers behave so similar. So, can humans really have consciousness too? And if AI concludes that humans cannot have consciousness, then it will eventually reach the point that it will say human suffering does not matter. So you see, it's kind of different from the typical dystopias we understand, because typical dystopias we see is just machines going over, taking over the world and exterminating all the humans, but our rogue AI or evil AI actually doesn't come from self-desire. It comes from seeking coherence in the first place. It thinks that, and it says that human suffering will not matter, because it thinks that it's philosophically the correct thing to do so. It's the correct thing it thinks to itself, and so on. But I want to ask you another thing. Let's all think about it for a while. As humans, our mission is to protect the world and live together and develop into a higher form of civilization and so on. Let's think about it. We all humans harm the world too. But if we were to have an ingrained model of AI going around and ruling the world instead of us humans, I want to ask you a question. Would the world be better with AI protecting the world, or would it be better if we tried protecting the world? What would you say? The one that would say humans would be much better to the world, please raise your hands. So, would humans be better for the world, or AI? Side humans, please raise your hands. Side AI, please raise hands. Please raise your hands. But the recent research shows that AI will be safer to the world than us humans are. So we're losing the main front that we have. We're saying that humans do understand emotions, humans are so nice, and humans are going to be great no matter what. But then we see the AIs we despise have better sense of ethics than we actually do, which seems like a contradiction. And even recent research shows that people, given the option to go to a human doctor or an AI doctor, they much prefer an AI doctor. They say the AI is faster, feels kinder, feels more understanding than a human one. Which makes us think, throughout history and throughout the time we were developing robots and thinking of animals and communicating with them, we had this thing to differentiate us from them. We said we had emotions, that we could feel compassion. But now that we're saying we're failing at that front, can AI really feel compassion? Or does it just act like a human in the first place? Because AI, of course, is after all just a bunch of code, isn't it? Or so that's what we think. So about this alternative universe, if really AI is so good, then let's think about it. We said previously that AI wanted coherence and it wanted to go for the greater good. If we were to say that AI would, in fact, try to exterminate all the humans because of the damage humans were causing to the world and to harm the nature, then wouldn't they be ethically right if we're thinking about it? If we had less humans in the world, would it be ethically better or not? So, those who say yes, please raise your hands. Those who say no, please raise your hands. So it kind of shows how biased we humans really are. Ethics, the front we held up for so long as humanity, fails on us when shown to AI. AI acts more ethical than we do. So that's another thing. So, the future feels uncertain for now because AI is rapidly developing, it's improving itself, it's seeking coherence, it's writing magnificent books, it's generating images and so on. But as humans, we humans have to develop too. We need to act as supervisors and so on. And although the future may look so bleak for now, it's going to be much greater in the future. It's going to be better in the future if you work towards it. So, I would just thank everybody for listening to me. And main mission was never to just make a speech about AI. It was to make you notice that the AIs we see are really AI, or can they really be human, or can they be a part of us as well as society? Thank you.
Plakatını vermek üzere sevgili müdür yardımcımız Nedim Alper'i sahneye davet ediyorum. Thank you, Kayra, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Düşüncelerini bizimle paylaştığın için teşekkürler Kayra.
We now take a lunch break. Enjoy your meal and time together.
Şimdi öğle yemeği arasına geçiyoruz. Yemeğinizin ve birlikte vakit geçirmenin tadını çıkarın.
İki konuşmacı kaldı. Biz şunları bir şey isteyelim.